Life Over Coffee. Conversations for Transformation.
If you could live your life over again, how would you live it differently? What values would you instill to give yourself a meaningful life? What if you could instill those values now? I mean, perhaps you look back and regret and say, man, I wish I could do that, but I'm at this age. Well, what values would you instill? Maybe today is the day to begin. Now, an excellent way to think about these things is to ask someone, maybe people that are farther down wisdom's road than you are. I sort of kind of did this about 30 years ago. Someone told me about a study of older adults, and the question that was asked was, if they could live their life over again, what would they do differently? I was so impressed by their answers that they became a template for how I wanted to live my life. I loved their responses. There were 3 of them, not in any particular order, and I liked them so much that day I began modeling my life after these 3 things. Now here's what they said. If I could live my life over again, I would take more risk, 1. I would do important things, 2. And I would spend more time reflecting. Risk, important things, and reflection. Now what I did is I took their responses and I ran them through a biblical hermeneutic, a biblical grid. And I came up with the following life plan. I don't know if they were Christians or not, but I wanted to add a little precision to what they said about risk and important things and time and reflection. And so this is my adapted list from what they said. They said, if I could live my life over again, I said it this way, I will step out in biblical faith as often as possible, meaning I will take faith-filled risk, taking risk. Number 2, I will do things that impact lives for generations. There's an eternal view, an eschatological value attached here. And then number 3, I would spend time in meditative, reflective thought. So there you have it. I'll take biblical risk. I'll do things for eternity's sake and spend time in reflective thought. And so I want to take all 3 of those, talk just a little bit, and give you an application question. Perhaps this could be your list also, or maybe as you think about the question, if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? You would come up with other things, but that is really the appeal, and that's my provocation. That's what I want to do, to provoke you to think, to spur you on to make your own list. All right, so let's take taking risk. Taking risk without biblical guidance could be the errand of a fool. Taking biblical risk is godly, and so we modify risk with biblical. Christians are not passive. That's one ditch where we just sit around watching other people do the thing. But Christians are also not impulsive. That's the other ditch where we just, hey, watch this. Christians are intentional and informed risk takers. It reminds me of Peter, who was standing on a boat during a dark and stormy night. Christ was asking him to take a biblical risk. Peter was nervous about the offer for obvious reasons. I mean, like, really, who walks on water? Peter was willing, but he needed assurance, and so he asked the most important question that any of us could ask, Lord, is that you? Christian decisions are faith-informed decisions, and that's what Peter was going for. And once you inform your faith biblically through the means of grace that the Lord provides, there's nothing left to do but to get off the boat and go water walking. Now, there are 4 means of grace for faith-informed decisions. They are canon, comforter, community, and conscience. Let's look at each one briefly. Canon, the Bible. What does God's Word say about what you want to do? When you're taking a biblical risk, important question, what does the Bible say? Number 2, comforter. How is the Spirit of God illuminating your mind about what you want to do? Community. What do your close, or at least one close, competent, courageous Christian friend say about what you want to do? And then finally, your conscience. How is your inner voice speaking to you about what you want to do? Faith-informed risk incorporates these 4 means of grace: canon, comforter, community, and conscience. Now here is your risk question. What is God asking you to do, but you're afraid to do it? You don't want to come to the end of your life with a boatload of woulda, shoulda, coulda regrets. And no matter how old you are, think about the risk question, faith-informed risk, and step out and take that biblically informed risk. All right, eternal things. They said if they had their life to live over again, they would do important things. I changed that to eternal things. The eternally minded person does not care if he gets a statue erected downtown for pigeons to do their business, but he does care about impacting lives for eternity's sake. And there is no better way to impact lives than those who are closest to you. Now, this concept is where a stay-at-home mom can refocus, recalibrate, and rejoice. She has the opportunity around her knees to shape little lives that will impact eternity. She's doing eternal work in her home as she evangelizes and disciples her children for Christ. Spouses have similar opportunities. We marry damaged goods. Did you know that? The fall of Adam hurt our spouses. Poor decision-making in other people also damaged them. They are doubly and triply damaged. One of the most important calls of a spouse's life is cooperating with the Lord in the ongoing restoration of the person that they married. And so here is an eternal question. How are you cooperating with the Lord in restoring your spouse or restoring your children? Leading them to Christ and helping them in their progressive sanctification. Have you made the ministry or the work mistake? What is that? A ministry mistake is a person doing ministry out there somewhere, but not ministering to their spouse and children in here. The work mistake is the person who is more devoted to their job than to his spouse or his children. Now, you can ask the risk question any way that you want. You can ask the eternal question any way that you want as well. I just framed it in those two ways. Thinking time. If I could do my life over again, I'd spend more time in reflection. The scattered brain is the bane of our culture. Our world has succeeded in dumbing down our minds to a tweet, to a quote, to an infographic, or a video clip. Sitting before the Lord lasts as long as the water grab and go of a marathon runner. We feed our brains with continuous noise to the point that there is no such thing as quiet time anymore. If there were quiet time, it'd be more of a crash time. We're too exhausted to think. We ramp ourselves up to where it's either 100% on or 100% off. And I'm not talking about praying, though I would never minimize praying, but what I'm talking about here in context is about spending time thinking. You take a thought, you roll it over and over in your mind like a cow chewing cud until that thought masters you. You take your thoughts captive by bringing them to the obedience of Christ. That kind of mental discipline is rare for the postmodern mind. Now here's a thinking question. Do you have a quiet mind? Like Jesus, can you rest in the storms of life? Now here are a few ways that you can apply these three concepts to your life. Now perhaps as you think about the question, if you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? Maybe you would come up with different things other than biblical faith-informed risk, doing things for eternity's sake, and spending time in reflective thought. Ask the Father to help you to practicalize these ideas into your life. Make it personal to you. I will give you some suggested preferences, of course, but be pneumatic. Walk in the Spirit. Inquire of God. How would you take a biblical risk? What does that mean? All right, here's your suggestion. Risk. Write down 3 things that you would like to do, but you don't know how to do them. Maybe it's overcoming a sin pattern, building a relationship, paying down a debt, making a life change, writing a blog post. What are those things? Learning another language. Going to the mission field. Number 2, eternity. Who are the closest people within your sphere of influence? How do you need to change to help them change? Write down their names and a few bullet points about what you need to do to better position yourself in a cooperative effort with the Lord to serve them. Risk, eternity, and now reflection. What hinders you from finding adequate time to think without becoming a legalist? How can you change this pattern in your life? I changed by journaling. It was 1994, which might not be a good fit for you. Everybody's not a journaler, so I would not want to map that over you and mandate it in any way that's merely suggested. The process of writing forces me It slows me down because I can't write fast, to stop and to think. If you don't learn to stop and think for adequate periods, you will be overcome by the active noise all around you. So here's the question. If you could live your life over again, what would you do differently? Now, since you are alive, what if you mapped out a plan to do those things today? Be specific. Tell a friend. Perhaps today is a great time to make a decision in faith. Thank you so much. If I can have one appeal, for those of you who are blessed by our content and you can help us to keep our resources free, please go to lifeovercoffee.com. Learn how to donate or become a supporting member. We make these resources with joy, send them out in faith, trusting that God will land them into the hearts and minds of those who need them. And hundreds of thousands of people have connected with our resources, and we want to continue to make them free. We're cyber missionaries. If a local church would take us on, support us financially, monthly, annually, or anyone else, we would love for you to partner with us so that we can continue to do what we do. Thank you so much. Go out and take a risk.
Thanks for joining us. Learn more and get access to other resources at lifeovercoffee.com.